Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I don't want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Well, the New York Knicks had their championship parade on Thursday, but the new kings in New York are the Cincinnati Reds, as they had a fantastic week, winning back-to-back series for the first time in forever. Man, let's talk about it right now.
This is the Red Hot Reds podcast. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. I am Roger Straz. Welcome back. You are in the right place, Reds fans. We are in a great headspace, Reds fans. Unfortunately, Ricky is got scheduling conflict. His kid is playing some Little League baseball at the moment, so we're wishing him well to have a great Sunday, which is, again, Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, all the fathers of our fans out there. I have a Father's Day gift on my head that is very, very greatly appreciated, as the Redlegs won today as well, which is great. Cherry on top of a great weekend of action at the pool and everything else in the great weather. We hope that we are coming to you in a great spot, because I am in a great mood. Reds are 4-2 this week, winning back-to-back series for the first time in a long time, and we are talking about winning baseball. Can you believe that? The last couple of weeks, we had a 2-4 week last week and a 1-5 week 2 weeks before that. So to go 4-2 against the New York teams, the Mets at home for Great American Ballpark, and then going to the Bronx, winning 2 out of 3 from a pretty good New York Yankees team that is going to be in the playoffs, win their division potentially, and all that is awesome. But like I said, you're in the right place, Reds fans, to watch about or to talk about this great team that we're hopefully going to be back to 500 this week at the midway point of the season, with a bunch of guys coming back that we're going to talk about, and also great performances that we've had that deserve to be in the All-Star Game in Philadelphia in less than a month. And we'll start there. The Cincinnati Reds this week, main reason possibly why they went 4-2 was Chase Burns, a guy that I feel is an all-star lock for this Cincinnati team. He has pitched his tail off. I mean, I went to his game on March 30th, his first major league win, and he has not done anything else but win since then. So he has really been the mainstay that has made this Cincinnati Reds team go, especially because the pitching staff has been injured, has been performing poorly, has been just inconsistent of late. It has been the one bright spot on this rotation that we know every 5 days that Chase Burns is going to go out there and give it his all, and he maxes out with velocity. He is a master of swing and miss and whiffs out there. So we have a lot to get into with Chase Burns. And I mean, he was the one that started it all off on Monday against the Mets. They win 12-0. He goes 5 innings, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, and 7 Ks to set the tone. In that game, the Reds were obviously a big cushion. Didn't have to go too deep in the game. I think got 90, 98, 96 pitches that day. So he was dealing. And then to cap it all off, to win the week, to win the series against the New York Mets, or New York Yankees, who are a really good team, just dominant again. 5 innings today, 5 hits, 1 earned run, the home run against Ben Rice, a guy that actually tagged him with a home run and his debut against the Yankees back in June, about a year ago at this time, that he came in and was called up to this big league ball club. And yeah, he Ben Rice, I guess, has got his number. That's going to be an interesting battle through both their careers, because both of those guys are pretty good. I think Ben Rice, it was his 22nd home run of the season. And you know that Chase Burns, if you're a Reds fan, know that he's going to be a good one for a long time. And like I said, he went 5 innings, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts on the season. Amazing stats. And the NL is stacked with great starting pitching. And it's going to be kind of unfortunate because in any other context, in any other season, he'd probably be the all-star starter. His numbers here just scream all-star starter in any other season possibly. 9-1, 2 ERA. He has 102 strikeouts in 85 2/3 innings. Just amazing stuff. Just K per 9 out the wazoo. And unfortunately, he's in the NL that has, I mean, they got Christopher Sanchez, who had a record of scoreless streak, this like 50 plus innings of not giving up a run. Got Chris Sale. They've got, unfortunately, in our own division, Paul Skeens and Mizorowski. So like just those guys right there, plus some others that I'm probably forgetting to mention in the National League, could be an all-star starter. And Chase Burns should be in that conversation for sure. No doubt about it. They're just the pure stats that he's been going through as well. Get this. Chase Burns has allowed 2 or fewer runs in 12 straight starts. That's tied the longest streak by Reds pitcher in a single season. Get this, since 1900. This is the oldest franchise in baseball that goes back to 1869. And they, in the dead ball era, obviously had stats that like this, the 12 straight starts with 12 straight starts with 2 or fewer runs in 1900. That is peak dead ball era stat right there. So we're talking about a guy who is pitching as if we are having a major advantage like they had in the dead ball era, pitching just lights out in 12 straight starts. And also, I believe 14 of the 15 starts he's had have been quality starts. The guy has just been amazing, and it's just we can go on and on and on about it, and we will. Don't worry. He has also the last couple outings, he has only given up, I think, a couple base runners per game. This is the guy that is also picking off guys like Anthony Volpe today, picking him off first so that he can not have traffic on the bases and stuff like that. Chase Burns has just been outstanding, and can't say enough good things about him. He's definitely the guy that has solidified this team when they needed to stop. They losing streak, they give him the ball, streak stopper there. Also, if you think about it, the 9 wins, the Reds have 37 wins on the season. He's accounting for 25% of the Cincinnati Reds wins. Think about that. 25% of the wins are coming from Chase Burns and his starts. That is outstanding, to say the least. And also interesting is that he's second season, right? Second full season, kind of like Elly, possibly an all-star in his second full season. He's going to be on a trajectory where, or we may get into this with Ricky when he comes back on the show, but he is another one of those candidates on this team that's going to be under team control that they probably should look to get extended past the 6 years of team control. His team control since he started in 2025 as a full season, I believe he didn't. Well, he might actually miss the arbitration. He might be a 2032 eligible unrestricted free agent. But that neither here nor there. We should really look just like Sal Stewart, just like some guys in the minors that I talk about, Alfredo Dano, to sign these contracts, to extend them beyond those 6 years. And we'll definitely get into that kind of stuff later on when we're talking off season, when we're talking about this team and what they're going to look like going into 2027. But you probably should look to talk to his agent, try to get something on the books maybe before that. So that way we can have a Chase Burns situation where he's under team control on a team-friendly contract, or at least a contract that extends past the 6 years team control in 2031 possibly. So, and the other thing about Chase Burns has been outstanding is his ability to generate strikeouts on some of the best hitters in baseball. We talked about his debut was against the Yankees last year and came out and struck out 7 of the first 8 batters, I believe. And then in the Mets game on Monday, he goes up toe-to-toe with Juan Soto and gets him not only to strike out, but strike out silly. Strike out with the most ridiculous, like, half check swing, not sure. It made Juan Soto look like a rookie, and that Chase Burns was the guy that is a multiple-time All-Star and multiple-time, MVP candidate, multiple-time guy that just we rendered Juan Soto useless in that Mets series when he went toe-to-toe with him, which is just outstanding stuff of that. And the other thing is that every time that he goes up there, it feels like they have a fighting chance to win. And we can't say that out of every single pitcher we have in this rotation. This rotation's been marred with injury, inconsistency, guys that have maybe not pitched as well as they did last year, guys that are coming off an injury and pitching for the first time in a long time. Like, Rhett Lauder had a little bit of injury this season, but he's coming off of 2025 where he barely pitched. So the thing that also kind of comes to mind with the Chase Burns as we get further and further along into the season was the comments earlier on about innings limits, about restriction, about not getting this guy too much out there because injuries for pitchers are a dime a dozen. It seems like every single pitcher has a stint or a long time or an injury that takes them out for a long time throughout their career, or at least one time in their career. It's the way that they max out. They red line a lot, and Chase Burns is kind of a candidate of that, where he hits an 80 or 98, 99 on the gun on his fastball. And he does generate a lot of swing and misses. He makes a lot of guys look silly, but at the end of the day, that's a lot of pressure and tension on that shoulder and elbow. And you wonder if that's something that they're really monitoring in the Reds organization. I'm sure they've got some sort of advanced analytics, some sort of advanced look at making sure that he's not putting himself in a situation where he can really get hurt or is overdoing it. The last 2 starts that he's had this week, 5 innings, about 100 pitches. So that's about kind of modern analytics, third time through the lineup type of stuff, where you start getting to 100 pitch range. They start looking to pull you out. And thank goodness the bullpen, which we'll talk about in a little bit, has been a lot better. And that is something that we are going to touch on this week as well, which is probably why we had a winning week of 2 back-to-back series wins. It's not just the outstanding heroics of Mr. Chase Burns in 2 starts to get 2 victories, but also the guys that backed him up to make sure that they kept the lead. So more on that as we move on to the later parts of this show. But overall, Chase Burns, if he's not in the All-Star, if he's kind of sneaks on, kind of Andrew Abbott, where there was an injury situation and that allowed Andrew Abbott to get on the team last year with Elly, I'm going to be a bit disheartened because the numbers that Chase has this year, all due respect to Andrew Abbott, are totally way more dominant type stats that he has than Andrew had at this point last year. Now, Andrew was great last year, and I'm not taking anything away from a deserved All-Star, but unfortunately he kind of snuck on the team, which he'd probably argue he should have been on the team and didn't have to sneak on. Chase Burns should be one of the first 5 starters selected, if not one of the first top 3 starters selected, the way he's been pitching of late, the way he's making the Cincinnati Reds matter. Now, if he has one bad start, I really hope that doesn't deter his chances. He's probably going to start at least, 2 or 3 more times before the All-Star break. But if he has one of those that are underachieving starts for him, that hopefully doesn't deter the coaching staff. I believe the coaching staff would be the Dodgers, and Mr. Dodgers manager, Mr. Dave Roberts, is going to be selecting the bench players and the pitchers. So hopefully that isn't going to determine any sort of which way on how they're going to go about it. But for my money, Chase Burns, All-Star lock, and has kept this team above water, kept his team afloat. That's the one thing they said when Elly went down. They got to find a way to stay afloat. and that is something. They're 2 games under 500 as we are recording today. And as we know, we got a guy that's coming back, had a rehab, couple starts, 3 starts this weekend for your Louisville Bats. And we are going to get into that after this commercial break.
Listen up, Reds fans. If you're repping the Cincinnati Reds this season, you need your drink just as cold as your takes. Introducing Frost Buddy, the world's first and only universal can cooler. Say goodbye to switching between coolers like you're rotating pitchers. Frost Buddy fits every 12-ounce can, slim can, 12-ounce bottle, and 16-ounce cans and bottles as well. All in one. No more guessing, no more swapping. Just grab it and go. And here's the game changer. Turn it into a tumbler by adding their 100% leak-proof coffee lid. That's right. From first pitch to morning commute, Frost Buddy's got you covered. So whether you're tailgating, watching from the couch, or celebrating a Reds win, this is the only cooler you'll need. Grab your favorite team's Frost Buddy now and keep it cold all season long.
Welcome back, Reds fans. You are in the right place. This is the Red Hot Reds. Thank you for tuning in. We are here to talk about Elly de la Cruz. He is on the verge of being back. It is heavily linked that he is going to be a lot of speculation out there. Nothing official as of yet on Sunday night that he is going to join the team, but there are reports that he's going to join the team on Monday against the division rival Milwaukee Brewers. And if that is to happen, that is massive news and something that is going to give a huge jolt into this team. We have, he got on the IL on June 1st, and now we sit here on June 21st, 3 weeks later. It feels like he's back a little bit sooner than anticipated. They said that after the MRI and initial reports, it would be 2 to 4 weeks. So I guess we're right there in the average. And also other reports from Charlie G and other sources is that he has been working every single day to try to get back to the lineup. And if there's any indication about Elly de la Cruz and where he's at, all you have to do is tune into the Louisville Bats games that he went on a rehab assignment this weekend. And goodness, they're going against Gwinnett, which I believe they are the Braves or the AAA team down there in Gwinnett, Georgia. They had no chance. When they saw Elly de la Cruz probably in the lineup, they probably got a little bit of juice themselves because they have a situation where they're going up against a major leaguer. And I'm sure these AAA guys that are out there want to prove something and get something over on them to maybe say, hey, I was the guy that struck out Elly de la Cruz in his rehab assignment, which is something that we've never had to really say ever. This is his first time on the IL and first time that he has to go through the rehab procedure. And it was the shortest stint possible, just a 3-game, stint on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He only played, I believe, one of the games on Saturday. So they had, I think, the rain out on Thursday. He was supposed to play on that Thursday, played Friday with the doubleheader, then Saturday, Sunday. So still, they probably didn't want to overdo it on that. On the game that he did play on Friday, goodness me, he just crushed one to center field, 441 feet. No doubter. The announcers were like, wow, yeah, this guy looks like a major leaguer for sure. And he didn't look like he had too much, his stride didn't look like it was affected by his hamstring or anything like that. So he seems to be close to 100%, if not 100% on that hamstring. And what really hurt missing in this week were the couple of games. San Diego comes to mind where their offense was pretty putrid. The Diamondback series where their offense was pretty putrid. On Friday where they go up against Cam Schlittler, lost 5-0. That was a game where it hurts to have Elly injured. That could have been a game where he inspires the team, gets a couple hits, gets a couple stolen bases, whatever it ends up being, maybe a home run or two, play some inspiring defense. Those games, hopefully now, if he's going to be back full time, we're going to get that full Elly experience. So he's going to go out there and get the job done day in, day out. A guy that ironically has been super durable throughout his whole career, playing 162 last year and 160 the year before, and then 2023 116 games or whatever it was when he got called up. So This is a guy that does not miss. He famously took a flight from the Dominican after his sister's funeral and got on commercial airline to get back to a suspended game, I believe, against the San Francisco Giants, and pinch hit in that game so that we would get into all 162 in his career for in his season in 2025. So this is a guy that loves the game. Was even spotted on his when he was on the IL, hanging out in the Dayton Dragons dugout on one of their games when they were at home, and a guy that probably can't get away from the game of baseball. And even if he tries, it's something that he's probably thinking about constantly when he's away from the game. So it is great to see that Elly de la Cruz is back. The question that becomes very interesting and something that we actually put out there on a poll question is the roster move that has to happen to put Elly back on the active roster. He's on the IL, obviously, and he's on the 40-man. We've got a couple guys with options, and we got some situations that we're kind of trying to figure out what is the best for this organization. I guess I could have put out there also, there may be some phantom IL, some guy that probably gets retroactively on the IL after today's game, and then all of a sudden it opens up that active roster spot for an Elly de la Cruz. But if that's not the case, there are some options that have to happen to allow him to come back up. And thank you for everyone that voted on the poll. The poll was that with Elly de la Cruz about to be activated off the IL, who do you send down to AAA? And the three options are, Will Benson, Matt McLain, and Edwin Arroyo, guys that have been performing decently, not maybe lighting the world on fire. I will shout out Edwin Arroyo, had a 4-hit game on Saturday against the Yankees on that great offensive performance. Also with Sal Stewart having 6 RBIs that game. But in the poll, we got 60 votes that were cast out there. For Edwin Arroyo, is 21.7% voted for him to be sent down. Matt McLain, 26.7%, voted him to be sent down. And the winner, I guess, I don't know if this is really a winner, but the guy that won the poll, Will Benson, with 51.7% of the poll, is the guy that's possibly going to be optioned down. I will say Will Benson does have 1 option. Matt McLain has 3, and Edwin Arroyo has 3. And the thing that we have to weigh is basically that the Cincinnati Reds organization is probably not going to do what the fans want, or maybe what always makes the most baseball logic sense. So it makes a lot of sense. Will Benson has not been playing a lot. He's on the 26 man roster and just basically playing every third or fourth game, pinch hitting for the most part. But I think he's possibly accepted his role enough that he is earned to be up on the major league roster team. If there's an injury or somebody needs a defensive replacement in the outfield, he is that extra fourth or fifth outfielder, because I guess we got also Blake Dunn and JJ Bleday and Noel V. Marte that are up there, along with Spencer Steer in the outfield. Matt McLain, the fans have been on him a lot this season. His low batting average, low production, hitting lead off a lot, hitting 2, but now has been most consistently in the 8 or 9 hole. Makes the most baseball sense to have him have a reset. TJ Friedel's in AAA right now after his disastrous start. But the thing that Matt McLain has over, say, TJ Friedel is a much better defensive range and can play short and second, much like Edwin Arroyo as well. But the one thing we have to kind of remind ourselves is that, well, I think Will Benson is at the point of his career where I don't think he has to play every single day. He'd like to. Matt McLain probably should be playing every single day if you want his defensive prowess to be in the lineup, not necessarily his hitting. But Edwin Arroyo, 22, just debuted on June 1st, is a guy that needs to be playing every single day. And there is an option to put him down. He's got 3 options, and that may be the thing that happens. It kind of stinks because you want him to kind of be a part of this ball club going forward, not necessarily yo-yoing back and forth between here and AAA. But at the same time, maybe there's an injury that opens up in the infield that allows Edwin Arroyo to stay up here for the remainder of the season. They kind of got a little bit of logjam at the moment for the shortstop position with Elly, McLain, and Edwin Arroyo. But, McLean, I think, will probably stay on the big league club more than Edwin Arroyo and Benson at this point, despite the poll. And I put out a poll that was for the bigger baseball X community. It wasn't the poll that I just recited with the 51% for Benson was strictly for our Red Hot Reds, Cincinnati Reds kind of echo chamber, if you will. I put it out there to kind of the greater baseball audience, which is, trying to get a different perspective, maybe the outside perspective, looking in on the Cincinnati Reds, echo chamber of fans and what have you. And it's much smaller sample size, 13 votes. But Edwin Arroyo and Matt McLean both tied with 38.5% to be sent down. And then you got Will Benson at 23.1%. So I think a lot of people outside of the Cincinnati Reds community do not necessarily have the same opinion on Will Benson as, say, others do. And they may see that as just Edwin Arroyo and Matt McLean are infielders, and you're going to bring in an infielder. You're probably going to have to send down an infielder. So that's my guess that's my read on the situation for that poll. It's very interesting how, the outside of Cincinnati bubble perspective is a little bit different than the inside, because the inside would want Will Benson down probably yesterday because they don't see much production out of him. But I think he's gotten a role that is kind of settled into. He obviously had that game-tying home run a couple weeks back that helped us extend a game into extra innings, and that is something that maybe Tito values, is just off the bench, a pinch hit, when he needs that left-handed power. But at the same time, it's difficult because they're not going to move off McLean. A lot of people are really liking Edwin Arroyo. His defense seems to be above average, which is great to see. But it just, you can't have three shortstops in the big league club, especially when you got your possible third-time All-Star coming back and being activated off the IL. Very interesting stuff. We're going to learn a lot more probably on Monday when the transaction logs hit. It'll be very interesting to see also how Elly performs out the gate, because we got two division opponents coming up, and we'll get into the Brewers and the Pirates. And the Reds have not necessarily lit the world on fire against the division, but a healthy Elly Cruz could do some damage and inspire his team to hopefully get a third consecutive series win. We will see. But we will move it on now to recap some other outstanding performances against New York. Like I said, the new Kings of New York are the Cincinnati Reds. The New York Knicks had their parade, so we don't necessarily need to talk about that anymore. It was nice to see the Reds start off the week fantastically, just offensively, because the offense against the Diamondbacks, as I witnessed in person on Friday, where he had, I think, 2 runs and had a dropped potential third out from Mr. Blake Dunn in the 8th inning, I believe. So that to see the offense just explode off the page in the first inning. We have a Gino Suarez 2-run homer and then a Gino Suarez grand slam in the same game. We'll take that. Especially Gino has not been hot, but I guess he knows his bobblehead's coming up. So maybe we're going to get a hot Gino for the Brewer series as well, because he's got his bobblehead on Wednesday, and he's been a little bit better than usual. Not necessarily, lighting the world on fire and being the best hitter on this team, but he's doing damage when he gets his chances, and that's all you can ask for, because hopefully as the season goes on, that's when he's starting to come online, starting to get a little bit better, starting to get a little hotter, comfortable, and everything like that. But yeah, he definitely was, basically given the full Gino Suarez experience on Monday. 2 for 4, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and 2 strikeouts. He's got a batting average of like 213. So we got the full Gino experience there, where he's going to strike out a lot. He's going to hit a bunch of homers, and, hopefully there's going to be, traffic on the bases where he can clear the bases. That's all we can really ask for Gino in, age 35 season. So we'll just got to take it for what it is. Hopefully he keeps it going, and maybe it's a mutual option for 27. We'll see when we get there. Tuesday, the bullpen has been great, and we're going to get into the bullpen stats a little bit, but we had a 3-run homer from South Stewart on the Tuesday game, 2 for 3, total of 4 RBIs. Singer battled. He got into the 5th inning, which is something he hasn't done a lot this season, has been really struggling. One of those guys we talked about, like Chase Burns, has been obviously the ace of the rotation in 2026, but Brady Singer's really kind of been the anchor, really pulling us down So we really could use a couple good Brady Singer starts going into the All-Star break for sure. And Tony Sentia getting the save. It's something that you don't necessarily see a lot this year, or at least when he's been in the high leverage situation. He's kind of blown, and even the medium leverage situation, kind of blown those leads and allowed a lot of teams to win games against this Red Legs team when they had the lead. It's good to see that Tony's starting to get back online, and we're going to talk about that again a little bit later. Wednesday getaway days, I don't know. I didn't pull up the full stats, but it just feels like the Cincinnati Reds just pack it in on the getaway days. They lost 9-1, let the Mets have their one win of the series, which you'd like to take that back and make them get swept, because this was a really sad sack of a Mets team. I mean, I think he even put out there on Twitter that it felt really good to see that there's at least another team that's really, really much worse than the Reds, because they just don't have timely hitting. They don't have great defense. They don't have great pitching. It was good it was a get right series, as they say. But Lodolo was very ineffective. He gave up a lot of singles. It ended up giving up 11 hits in 4 2/3 innings and 7 earned runs. It was very lackluster in terms of our offense. 3 or 4 hits, they just get the 1 run. Chris Paddock, a guy that's kind of been really another anchor on our rotation, but now has been put in the bullpen as maybe now the innings eater of the bullpen. Ate a bunch of innings, 4 1/3 to finish out the game, so we didn't have to go to our bullpen as much. Didn't have to go to Mole or TJ Antone or Santillan or Brock Burke or anything like that, or Ferguson. So it was good that we have Paddock eating up those innings, even in a game that really the Reds they're ready to move and have a travel day off to New York, the Bronx. So, but they followed that up though with a very interesting performance against one of the best AL starters out there, Cam Schlittler. My goodness, 17 strikeouts for the game. This was a game I felt like it really hurt not to have Elly. This was a game where it felt like the Reds just were overmatched from start to finish. And this Schlittler guy is 1.71 ERA, struck out the Reds, I think, 13 or 12 times in his 6 innings. So like the dude's a really, like, he was shoving. A guy that's definitely going to be an all-star for this team. And that was the one thing that I was kind of worried about in the series for the Yankees versus the Reds, is that the pitching staff for the Yankees may be better than their offense, because they've won 43 games on the season, I want to say. And they've done a lot lately, a lot of winning without Aaron Judge, who's injured. So what's been really, booing him? Maybe a little bit of Ben Rice here, maybe a little bit of Cam Schlittler here, and then they got Garrett Cole on the way. So it's like this team has got a lot of horses, and they ride those guys. And Cam Schlittler had a day on Friday. They lost 5-0, the Reds, to Cam Schlittler and the Yankees, but they bounced back on Saturday. Ironically, on Aaron Judge bobblehead day. He was there in attendance, but unfortunately not playing. And this was the Sal Stu game. This is where Sal kind of announced himself out there to the Bronx, to the New York Yankee fans, that this guy is a legitimate rookie, NL Rookie of the Year candidate, where he went 2 for 4, 2 doubles and 6 RBIs, cleared the bases with one of his doubles. And it just, dude's just, I don't know. I can't say enough good things. He had a little bit of a dip, much like the Reds did in May and a bit of June. But I think if he can be one of their best hitters, if not their best hitter, alongside Elly, who's coming on and coming back into the lineup on Monday against the Brewers, I think we'll be in a good spot. And then imagine doubting Spencer Steer. Shout out Spencer Steer. Shout out to all the guys that know when we're talking about Imagine. 3-run homer, a guy that had been struggling. I think he was like 3 for 40 before this game, striking out a bunch, just not hitting as well as he had in the past. But now Spencer Steer, I think he's got 12 homers on the year. If he can keep this production, I think his best was 21 or 22 homers one season, 90 RBIs. If he can get in that 25 range, 30 home runs, then we're talking about a Spencer Steer that is he's not all-star worthy, I don't think, but a guy that is going to be a solid piece of this team going into 27, maybe making this team a legitimate playoff contender, or at least a wild card contender. Can't say enough good things about Spencer Steer. He's a guy that also today in Sunday's game hustled out a double and caused a throwing error to get him on third to get a little insurance run to beat the Yankees 4-1 behind the great performance from Chase Burns. Ty Steve with a big 3-run homer on Sunday and a 2-inning save, not just a 1-inning save, 2-inning save from Big Tony, the fireman, Santillan. And this is where I want to talk about the bullpen. The bullpen, since we talked about this, it feels like every single week we're talking about this. But now we get to talk about it in a positive light because the bullpen has been really, really good this week. We always talk about how like they walk in too much, they're having blown leads, blown saves, and everything like that. No, the Cincinnati Reds bullpen this week has been outstanding. In the 6 games that they had, they pitched 23 innings. 23 innings. That's nearly 4 innings a game. So we're talking about we're not getting. I mean, Chase Burns did well, but he didn't get into this. He got into the 6th inning, but he got pulled. But he did not go past 6 innings. Right? I don't think any starters this week had gone past 6 innings. But they in the bullpen held it down. 23 innings, 17 hits against, 6 earned runs against in those 23 innings, 10 walks, which is not great. But we're talking about a bullpen of 1 week that pitched about the same amount of innings and had 33 walks. So a third of that. And then 18 strikeouts for a 2.35 ERA on the week. So I want to just give a little kudos to the Cincinnati Reds bullpen. They are finally getting it done in a major way, something that been a long time coming. It's been a thing that we say that Tito has the best kind of finger on the pulse for this team. And they just had some weird Murphy's Law, man, where they just injuries. Pagan, I think, is going to be on the way back soon. Pierce Johnson had a rehab start and now is back in the bullpen. It's just not been good. It's not been good for this bullpen lately. And if we're going to get to a point where the water's finding its level, we're going to get back to where we were, at least a step back toward normalcy. This is a great step back for this week. So this bullpen, I just wanted to shout out. Probably the reason why we went 4-2, outside of just Chase Burns and Sal Stewart heroics. The bullpen has to hold it down for those 23 innings. You know what I mean? That is great stuff out of them. At 23 out of possible 16, 54 innings. So that's nearly half of the innings that they have to be nearly perfect. Obviously, they gave up the 6 runs, but that's still an under 2.5 ERA for 26 or 23 innings. We'll take that. We'll take that every single week, and hopefully, we'll be talking about that next week with Ricky as well. We may even have a bullpen tracker for all we know, because God knows that our bullpen has caused a lot of heartache in this city and a lot of, maybe games we should win. So neither here nor there. 2 games under 500, 37-39 going into a new week, going up against some divisional opponents in the Brewers and the Pirates. But before we get into that, we've got a guy I think that you possibly have heard of that is coming back soon. Not Elly, not Pierce Johnson. Sorry, Pierce Johnson. Not Pagan, Emilio Pagan. Another guy is coming back very soon. Mr. Hunter Green. Christian Hunter Green did a rehab assignment in the ACL, the Arizona Complex League, this week, and really kind of blew it out of the water. It kind of maybe surprised himself a bit. The highlights I've seen, he was throwing gas. He was throwing against the ACL Cubs. Now, granted, if you know our show, check out Minor League Mondays. The ACL is a rookie league. It's got guys that like Steele Hall in our system that are 18 years old. So it's a little bit mismatched. If you think that Elly was outmatching, it was overwhelming AAA pitchers with his performance in AAA rehab start this last weekend. Just imagine if you are 18 years old playing for the first time, or just come from over the Dominican Summer League playing stateside for the first time, and you get a matchup against Christian Hunter Green. His first 3 pitches out the gate, by the way, 99, 99, 100. So it seems like the surgery went well, got rid of those extra floating bodies in the elbow, causing him pain. Seems like that is basically all in the past. No problems with that. But the stat line is just as impressive, really. Hunter Green was supposed to just do 3 innings in his rehab assignment in Arizona. He actually went 4 innings. 2 hits allowed, no earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts on 54 pitches, 39 of them for strikes. And like I said, he probably surprised himself at how well he did, because the highlights I saw, he threw some nasty stuff and hit some corners and struck out guys, looking, and that's nice to see. It also generated a bunch of swing and misses in his rehab, which is great to see as well. But maybe he gets a Louisville rehab start coming up soon. Chattanooga, Dayton, I don't know, somewhere maybe close to home so that it's not as much travel. And then maybe he's with the Cincinnati Reds to start of July, as they kind of predicted would be best case scenario. Maybe getting a start or 2 before the All-Star break. That would be really ideal for this starting rotation, because we could use the reinforcements, to say the least. We've had Burns lead the way. If we have Singer kind of come back online, Abbott's starting to get back to where he was before, it becomes an interesting situation where, are we going to have a really menacing rotation where the top of the rotation is Burns, right behind him Hunter Green, Abbott in all-star form right behind him, and then a Rhett Lauder or Brady Singer, or name it. It ends up being that we're going to have 4 out of the 5 guys that are just going to be like, oh geez, we're getting to this point of the season where every single game is going to be super, super important. We can't drop games unnecessarily, and going deep in the games is going to be super important as well, so that the bullpen doesn't get taxed. Having the reinforcement of Hunter Green in July could really kickstart this team back on the right track to competing heavily in the wild card race. The division seems to be a little bit, Brewers are doing their thing. You got, the fraud Cardinals still in second place. You got the Cubs that are up and down. Same with this stinking Pirates, man. They're about to get swept by the Colorado Rockies. So little, eyeball emojis there to see maybe the Pirates are a bunch of frauds if they can't really. I mean, they lost on a weird call, batter interference, I believe, against the Rockies on Saturday night. So maybe there's something going on there. Water meeting its level there in Pittsburgh. We'll see. But the good news in Cincinnati is that we've got a bunch of our stars coming back, namely Elly Cruz on Monday. Hunter Green, sooner than later, seems to be healthy, seems to be throwing it the way that he usually does. I'd love to see Hunter in a Reds uniform, maybe by the end of this month, start of next month. And we're going to be hopefully sending a couple guys into the All-Star break, representing our Cincinnati Reds. And we'll probably get into that more All-Star predictions with Ricky when he gets back on the show and we get closer to the date. It's exciting times. Usually June is a pretty good month for the Cincinnati Reds. They have a possibility of closing out this month very strong. They're not going to see, I think, Mizorowski in this 3 games. They got a bobblehead day for Gino on Wednesday, and who knows? And you go to Pittsburgh, maybe you can act as spoiler, make their season kind of a worse, keep it heading in the wrong direction and keep piling on, and then maybe we're above 500 by the time that we're getting to next week's show. That's my hope, at least, and that is definitely going to be the hope of the Cincinnati Reds faithful as we're getting back a couple of our best players. So stay tuned to that. Keep an eye on the transaction logs coming this week. Keep an eye on possibly we will document if Hunter Green takes another rehab start somewhere. I'll definitely be covering that one way or the other. Moving on. It may seem pretty obvious, but I think we've got it actually is pretty competitive for a Red Hot Red of the Week. Mr. Sal Stewart had a pretty decent week where he had 2 outstanding games on Monday and Saturday. I think he totaled 11 RBIs for the week, but the guy that's been the catalyst for this team since his first start on March 30th and got his first career major league win is Mr. Chase Burns. 2-0 on the week. 10 innings pitched, only 5 innings in each game, which, we'll take it because that qualifies for a win. It gets him that 9-1 overall record going into next week. He'll probably end up pitching in the Pirates series, so that'll be nice to see him hopefully get another quality win under his belt. But this week, the 10 innings, 9 hits, an earned run, just the Ben Rice homer today on Sunday, 14 strikeouts. The guy is just can't be hit. He's got nasty, nasty stuff. Generates so many swings and misses that, like I said, it made Juan Soto look like he was the rookie or the second-year player, and Chase Burns was the multi-time All-Star, just mega star. And you know what? I know he's technically American with his parents, but he was born on an Italian Air Force base. Maybe Italy comes knocking next time there's a World Baseball Classic and says, hey, Chase, would you like to pitch for the Italians? They had a pretty decent run in the World Baseball Classic 2026, maybe 2029. We're going to see a Chase Burns. If he's not pitching for Italy, he better be pitching for Team USA. That's all I've got to say. Especially if it's looking like this in 3 years, in 2029, when they have the next World Baseball Classic. Chase Burns is a must, no matter who you are, no matter what the situation may be. It is lights out Chase Burns. And, I believe there's a Charlie G piece that he put out there that this time last year when he was being called up, and I feel like Ricky and I will probably have a small podcast or something like the small, quick rise, like the very accelerated minor leagues push through. I wouldn't say push through. He earned all his promotions, but how quickly he was moved through the system, Mr. Chase Burns, to get to the majors by June 2025. And he was nervous going into his first starts. He had the big boppers right off the bat. He had the Bronx Bombers. I believe he also had to pitch up against the I think his second start against the Red Sox that unfortunately didn't go well, and they may have been tipping pitches and they were kind of picking up on that kind of stuff with the Red Sox, but neither here nor there. And then he also, I think, had the Dodgers mixed in there as well. Just he got the tough assignments right off the bat, and he kind of felt the nerves. But now I think in his second full season, or first full season, second season overall, I think he is now the one that is the one making other teams nervous. He's the one that's putting batters on the back foot and just allowing this team to have confidence behind him. When you go into a Chase Burns start, I bet a lot of guys are kind of feeling pretty confident that he's going to get the job done, whether he's striking out guys or whether he's making it pop out softly to the infield. There's got to be a massive, massive confidence boost when you see Chase Burns starting pitcher for your Cincinnati Reds. The fans feel it. I would imagine that his teammates feel it as well, going into each and every of his starts. It's really kind of fantastic stuff to see, and really hope that he continues to do that as a Cincinnati Red. It's definitely starting to save the season. I'm not going to try to say that, in 2024 we had a really brilliant Hunter Green season and it was all for naught. He ended up getting Cy Young votes. So we would like to hope in 2026, the fantastic season being put together by Mr. Chase Burns is going to be something that's not going to be all for naught. That's going to be a season that we actually get something for him, whether that's competing for the wild card, maybe that's competing for maybe the division. It'd be tough. It probably is not in the cards at this season, but maybe next year we're going to be talking about having a rotation that is going to be worthy of being playoff ready. As recently anointed father, Mr. Clay Snowden, friend of the show, is now joined the fatherhood club. Congratulations to him. But he had said at the beginning of the season in one of his pieces that this rotation, the Cincinnati Reds rotation, is playoff worthy. Now, is that always the case? Is that going to be a situation where this team is going to live up to the hype? No, not necessarily at the moment, but we will definitely keep you tapped into all that's happening with that going forward. With Chase Burns starts every single time we get out there. It's exciting time. But we will move on to the last portion of the show. What's coming up next? 3 games against the hated Brewers and 3 games against the hated Pittsburgh Pirates. You're going to be at Great American Ballpark for the first series, and then at PNC Park in Pittsburgh for the second one. We, like I said, we do get to miss Mizorowski. We do have, I think, a Singer versus Brandon Woodruff matchup on Monday, followed up by Tuesday's matchup of Lodolo versus Sproat. Rhett Lauder gets game 3 against a guy named Drohan. So maybe we're going to catch them at a good time. We obviously have kind of the back end of our rotation with Singer, Lodolo, and Lauder not necessarily been lighting the world on fire. But maybe they're going to be inspired with Elly de la Cruz coming back into the lineup on Monday night to get them going again. We will see, and we will talk about it then. Chase Burns will be pitching against the Pirates, as it were. But in game 1, Abbott will be going up against Paul Skeens. So must-see TV on Friday night. Burns gets the Saturday game against Jones, and then another Singer pitching appearance, the second of the week on the Sunday game against Mitch Keller. So hopefully at that point we have already won both series, and we don't have to really depend on maybe a Brady Singer master performance on a Sunday getaway day. But we will see. And then, unfortunately, we got to follow that up again with another Brewers series in Milwaukee following the Pittsburgh series. So we are chock full of NL Central matchups coming up. And unfortunately, the Reds have been awful, god awful in the NL Central matchup. 2-13. I want 2-14 maybe. So I really gotta hope that it's going to be water meeting its level this time around for Cincinnati Reds, because they can't be this awful against division opponents. I understand that they have been kind of owned by the Milwaukee Brewers the last couple seasons. They've had their struggles against the Pirates, especially in Pittsburgh. They've had their struggle against, even Cincinnati or against the Cardinals this year. They got swept by the Cardinals this year in St. Louis. So it's uphill battle for the Cincinnati Reds for the division games. We are really hoping that they're going to find their level, find their inspiration in their hitters and their starting pitching to get at least 4 wins against these division opponents. I think that's 3-3 would be nice, especially going into PNC and having to pitch against Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller. It might be tough. 3-3, I think it would be great in the week. Beat Milwaukee and take one of the games, maybe the Burns game on Saturday, the 27th. That would definitely be, I think, reasonable. They definitely have to watch against the fact that the Brewers are one of the best teams in baseball. I think the Brewers just recently lost this series to the Atlanta Braves, so they're coming off a series loss, so they're probably going to try to get right against us. So we have to be on top of our game starting Monday night at GAPP, 3-2-1 Tuesday on Tuesday, and then also another 7:10 start for Gino's bobblehead day on Wednesday. So, if you can get out to the ballpark, the weather is going to be pretty nice, I believe, this week, and support your team, because we're going to need every single win we can get. 2 games under 500. My hope is that we can get back to maybe above 500 in the next couple weeks and be able to be a legitimate wild card contender. Where I think 3 games out of the wild card at the moment, and there's some decent teams ahead of us. We lost the series to Diamondbacks, and Diamondbacks are ahead of us. The Phillies, we beat the Phillies, I believe, in Philadelphia, so they are ahead of us. But we know that we're just as good as them, possibly on our day. And stinking Cubs, the stinking Pittsburgh Pirates, and the stinking Cardinals are up there as well. So we got some work to do, and I think this team is finally in June heading in the right direction. A 4-2 winning week against 2 New York opponents really helps out a lot for the confidence factor. It's too bad that Chase Burns can't pitch twice every single week. That would probably solve a lot of problems, and it really give us a little bit of a leg up than most times. But we will end this show. If you've made it this far, we really appreciate it. If you can like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, we really appreciate it. Our channel has been growing. We have had great fans join our channel and comment and be a part of our community here at Red Hot Reds. We really like you also to follow our Monday show, Minor League Monday. It is our only podcast out there that's exclusively covers the Cincinnati Reds. And that's something that you don't see very often, just the Cincinnati Reds minor league systems, I should say. So it's the only podcast out there that covers the Cincinnati minors. So like, comment, subscribe on that as well. We'll be coming out with a new episode on Monday with Ricky back in the booth. And yeah, make sure you follow our other guys, All Gloves Off podcast network with Fanboys Unleashed, All Eras of Sirhan, Football with Cheese, Lights Out podcast, Cheap Pop Society, Far End of the Bench. Check those all out. It'll be in our description to check it out and like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate everyone that's rode with us on this journey and this possibility. It's really been a great, heartening thing to do, to cover this Red Lights. Sometimes the Reds are not the easiest on us in terms of making it easy to be a fan, but you guys that watch this show, that watch this channel, you guys have really made it worth it, and we're really thankful for all your support so far in this short journey that we've had the last 2 seasons. So until then, we will say, go Reds.